Okay, so welcome to this live stream. It's been a while since I've done a live stream. Very happy to be back on this channel with some live streams and giving you all the knowledge and everything I know about shooting Fujifilm for now more than 10 years. My story with Fujifilm actually started 10 years ago, actually 11 years ago, when I was about to leave on a trip for Italy, and I had my big Nikon gear with me, so I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate, traveling with big DSLR, 10 to 24, 24 to 70, 70 to 200, and lugging around everything. But back then, a little camera actually came to the market called the X100, the original one. And I brought it too. So this is, the rest is history, if I can say. But yeah, I've been using this system for more than 11 years. I am using other systems and I've been shooting other brands too. But all that to say, today we are in front of a lot of Fujifilm cameras. Some of them are mine, some of them are my girlfriend's one, and some of them are actually from Fujifilm Canada. So thank you, Fujifilm Canada, for encouraging small creators like me in my little channel so I can actually give information back to you guys that are subscribed to the channels. But before we start, I just want to know, can you guys hear me? And if you can hear me, give me a little thumbs up so I can actually see that you are hearing well, or just write in the chat. You can also do that, so I can see that you're hearing well, you're seeing well. By the way, I hope you're good, because we've been dealing with COVID in my family too. So just like a lot of families out there, stuck with this virus that's still going around. But I think we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully. But yeah, I think we're good on the audio. I can hear it in the software that I have here. I'm using Ecamm Live for those who are interested in the gear I'm using, and I have a ZV-1, Sony ZV-1 hooked up because I wanted to show you all these great cameras. So this is how I rigged up the whole thing, and I am using the Rode Video Mic Link or Micro or whatever it's called, wireless. So if there are interference, it's because it's a wireless system. Okay, so which Fujifilm camera is the right one for you? Well, it really depends on, and this is always the answer to everything. It depends on what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to do, and what type of photography you are doing. What's really cool about these cameras is that there is a bit of everything for everyone. So if you are, this is the first recommendation I'm going to make in this live stream. And by the way, if you have questions, please feel free to ask them. I think I'm going to see them in the software I'm using here. So comments and reaction, yeah, I think I'm going to see them here. So please feel free to type them in the chat. But the first camera I will always recommend, or I used to always recommend, is the Fujifilm X100. And this is the X100, X100V. I mean, this is the latest one. And why am I recommending this camera to everyone? Couple things. The first one is that this is the perfect camera to learn photography. When you start photography, it can be very easy to be overwhelmed with the amount of information that is out there, and also the fact that people will tell you to get this lens or that lens, to get the portrait lens, and so on and so forth. Well, when you get something like the Fujifilm X100, the lens is actually fixed on the camera, and it's a 35mm equivalent when you speak in terms of full frame. It's a 23mm on the crop sensor, but at the end of the day, it is kind of an all-around lens that's really designed to be able to capture some details, but also you can do portraits, you can do a little bit wide angle. So if you're traveling and if you need the ultimate camera, which I think is the best in the market, the Fujifilm X100 it is, because very small form factor. Also, you can rig it up like I did here with the Peak Design straps, so you can have it around your neck or on your shoulder, always ready to go. But here's the thing with the X100, and I'm seeing Skipper. Hey Skipper, thank you so much for joining this little live stream session. Nice collection. I have a Fuji teleconverter for sale. If any of your viewers are in Canada, are interested, I only use it twice. Cheers from Canada North. Canada's North. I've been following you since 800 subs. Oh my God, thank you so much, man. We've grown so much because of people like you, Skipper. So thank you so much for being a loyal and one of the first ones on this channel. So to go back to, and by the way, if you guys want a teleconverter, which we're going to talk about in just a minute, Skipper has one to sell. This is the beauty of this community. Get on this live stream, and all of a sudden there's people who are able to hook you up with some cool gear. So Fujifilm X100, I was about to say that what they did with the latest model, because you can always go back to the X100F, which is a very good camera, the X100T, the X100S, and the original one, which was a bit slow to autofocus. But what you can do with this one is that you can bring it in any condition, whether it's rain, snow, cold, hot, sand, you name it. First of all, this body is now weather sealed, which the other older cameras didn't have. So this is a very, very good plus for this camera. It's also, again, fixed lens, so you cannot unscrew or unmount the lens. It's fixed, so less dust or rain can actually come in. And there's also a little trick you have to do if you want it to be, hey man, I've got OC2 Fish 7 from London, England. Hey man, have a good afternoon or a good night. There's a little trick you can do here to make this camera fully weather sealed, and it's to add a little, if you can see here, I just put my fingers in it, don't do that. It's to put a little filter, there you go, in front of this lens, and it's now fully weather sealed. And if you are wondering about this cool lens hood, it's from a company called Hyogi. There's square hoods also that make very, very cool stuff for the X100 for all the Fuji cameras. Yeah, so fully weather sealed camera. Also, what they did is that they added a tilt screen. Again, the other models don't have that tilt screen, so very good if you are traveling and you want to take shots from the hips like that. You want to be very subtle. You don't want to be like click, click, click with a big camera and people are looking at you. This is the perfect camera to do that. What else? Well, they've added a nice update to the lens. This lens shoots at f2. I mean, on a crop sensor, it's about f2.8 or f4, depending on which school of full frame you go to. But this lens is very sharp at f2, so you can get the nice bokeh in the background. Speaking of bokeh and getting even more out of your Fujifilm X100, which is, again, the camera I recommend to anyone. Although there is a close contester, but we will get to this very, very soon. Skipper just mentioned in the chat earlier on that there is a teleconverter options for this. So let's say you're like, okay, I'm debating if I should get well, there you go. This is the magic of live. I just dropped it on the floor. But we are continuing. Show must go on. Nothing broke, so we're good. So there are teleconverters lens that you can put on your Fujifilm X100. So this is, like I said, a 23mm on a crop sensor, 35mm equivalent on the full frame. But if you're like, I want to grow my photography, but I'm not ready to go into the big systems with all those lenses. I love my X100. Well, guess what? You're in luck, because there is a teleconverter that you can buy that actually screws on the front of the 23mm lens. And now all of a sudden you have a 50mm equivalent lens on your rig. So take that interchangeable lens system. Now you can still keep your... Oh, I've got someone from Spain. Hey, Carl. Hola. ¿Cómo está? Muy bien. And hopefully I get to Spain soon. So I can shoot in the streets of Spain. Would love it. I would actually bring this camera. So with this teleconverter, now all of a sudden you've got a 50mm attached to your X100, and you can do even more close-up, more portrait shots that you couldn't do with the 35 field of view. So I really like this option. Gives you a teleconverter. It says it, and it's not going to break the bank like some of those other lenses that I'm going to share with you today. So this is the teleconverter. Very, very cool. And you've got a wide angle, and I think did I mix it up? This is the tele, and this is the wide angle lens converter. So again, same thing. You can screw this on, and I think this one looks very, very nice. It actually is a bit like reminds me of a Leica type lens. And all of a sudden you've got a 28mm rig here. So very, very popular with the street photographers out there. So they like their 28mm field of view, equivalent on full frame. So you get this with this teleconverter. So this is pretty cool. Again, if you are traveling, imagine this. You are leaving for Spain. Let's take I'm going to see Carl in Spain. And what am I going to bring if I don't want to bring a big camera with a heavy bag and so on and so forth? Well, I can bring this camera right here, the Fujifilm X100. I can bring my wide angle lens, so if I want to do some landscape or some street photography, and I put it so you can see it. There you go. And I can actually bring my teleconverter because I want to take crazy good portraits of my girlfriend. This is what I do when I travel. It's cool to have a model always with you, and she also really likes photography, so what can you ask? But you bring this. Look at this kit. So this whole kit fits in my hands right there. So I've got the X100, I've got my two lenses. I'm ready to create some art anywhere in the world, so I really, really like this option. So if you ask me what would be the best travel setup, well, until today, it was this little crazy good setup. But let's put it aside for just 1 second, because there is another contender that made an appearance recently, and it is the Fujifilm XE4. And why is it now a very strong contender to the ultimate travel street photography documentary camera title? I just invented a title. Well, hear me out for a little, well, for a couple minutes. First of all, this camera is even smaller than the X100. I thought that the X100 was, as good as it gets when it comes to the size of a camera, but this camera is actually, I'm holding it like very flush, smaller than the Fujifilm X100, and it packs the same crazy good sensor as the Fujifilm X100 and the X-T4, the X Pro 3, XS10. Look at this. It fits in the palm of my hand, but it has an advantage if you want to take your photography to another level and you are now wanting to shoot with multiple lenses like this 35 f1.4. Look at this. There is an interchangeable, that's hard to say for a French-speaking person, interchangeable lens system. The same lenses that you're going to put on your X Pro 3 or XS10 or X-T4 or even the older X-T10. Well, there you go. So you have a interchangeable lens system. This is where I can actually shoot my 56mm that I love the 56, and the 35 1.4, which is probably my favorite lens on the Fujifilm system. Very close with the 56, but this one has a special place in my heart. It's one of the oldest lenses. It focuses with a massive noise. I mean, hear that? I just took a photo. It won't focus. Anyways, it makes a massive sound when you try to focus, and it's also something. It's a lens that I really appreciate because it's one of the first lenses that I got with the system. So let's go back to the camera. What does it have that's a bit different from the Fujifilm X100? Well, the Fujifilm X100 has the flipping screen, which tilts up, which tilts down, but this one has the flip up, just like the X100. It has the flip down, just like the X100, but then this camera does a magic trick. So if you are into the selfie or even vlogging needs, there you go. You can flip it up, and all of a sudden, you've got yourself, and you can see my rig right there, you've got yourself a selfie slash vlogging type camera with the screen that tilts all the way up, and then it goes back. It's very flush. It's not obtrusive. So really like this camera. I also really like the fact that, you know, it can, with a pancake lens with the 27, which we have, which my girlfriend Vicky has, when you put that on, you can put it in your coat, and this is again even more portable. I would have never thought that this would have been the case, but it's actually more portable than the X100. So strong contender to the ultimate travel slash photography documentary stuff that I like, and some of you probably like too, camera. So those two are what I call the current smallest and perfect little camera. But I want to give I'm going to take 1 second to look at the comments. So we've got, thanks my friend, keep up the great work. Yes, thank you, Skipper. Yes, oops, I did drop this. Let me see. It's still there, and I mean, it is super dirty, but it's not cracked, so I will be able to still use my filter on my X100. It would be really nice to have an XT100V. Wow, that would be a nice mix. But I still love and use my Nikon D7100. This is pretty cool. X Pro 2, by the way, X Pro 2, I think it's probably my favorite camera of all time. I sold it. I don't know why. Sometimes I have to sell stuff to buy other stuff, but X Pro 2, man, very good. XT2, very good camera. Shot this for a couple years. XT3, love that. XT4, very, very cool. I love the XT4. I don't like the form factor. I actually prefer these type of rangefinder or these type of very big grip type camera. So it would be hard to justify buying another camera, and I don't want to sell any of them. Yeah, well, you know what? OC2 Fish 07. I'm in the same boat. I mean, you see all these cameras. Not all of them are mine. This one and actually this one and this one are going back to Fuji, but the other ones are mine. So this is the thing about Fujifilm cameras. The one thing that I did not mention is that the sensors that you can find in the cameras for the current lineup, for the X100V, the XE4, the X Pro 3, the XS10, all share the same sensor. How cool is that, right? So you can find the fit for you that is perfect, and then you're guaranteed to have the latest and greatest in terms of the features, of the sensor quality, and so on and so forth. So that's one thing that I really like about Fujifilm, is that they create tools for creators and storytellers that you can find and test, and then really hone in on a style of camera. So really like that. I agree. I use my X Pro 2 more than the others, especially for street photography here in London. Man, this is the perfect setup. Why don't we talk about the X Pro? So this is okay. So this is the smallest and mighty cameras here with the X100 and the XE4. Let me put them back into position. Voila. Okay, X Pro. This is the camera that changed the game for me. So if this one got me into the Fuji ecosystem and got me into really smaller, portable, mirrorless EVF type camera, although this one has a nice OVF too, optical viewfinder. This one is the one that made me fall in love with the Fujifilm system. Why? Well, a couple things. The first one is, can we take a moment to appreciate the cleanness of a camera like that? This is very reminiscent of, you know, the Leica cameras. It's also a camera that, you know, reminds us of the rangefinder shooting experience, because you're not, you know, you don't have it in the middle for the OVF or EVF. with your nose on it, like the XS10 or the XT4, XT3. It's actually on the side, so your nose has some space, and it's a very comfortable, I find, shooting experience, those X Pro cameras. So X Pro 1 was very, very good, and a lot of people got into the Fuji system with the X Pro 1. X Pro 2, like I was responding to OC2, I'm going to start calling you OC2 because your name is too long. So OC2 said probably one of the coolest and greatest update that Fujifilm made in the whole lineup when they had the XT1, X Pro 1, and X100, the original one. When they came with the X Pro 2, it was packing a lot of new features, and the autofocus was better, and the screen was good, and the OVF was good, and the EVF was good. So anyways, all that to say, X Pro 2, great camera. X Pro 3, they did create a bit of a shock in the camera world, at least for camera nerds like us. Some other people don't really care about this, but some people got very frustrated about this thing here. So this thing has no screen, no direct screen like the XE4 or any other Fujifilm camera. This one has a hidden screen. So this is the X Pro 3, and it flips up like that. So what they did, and I think I understand the move, although it's pissing a lot of people off, they decided to go pure photography, and they decided to bring and dumb down the camera. And some people don't like when I say that, but there's no D-pad like it was on the X Pro 2. It has, like I said, a screen that actually flips like that, and then you can hide it. And it's very pure photography. So not a lot of buttons, not a lot of customization, but an experience that's reminiscent of the actual rangefinder experience, which is, if you shot a Leica camera like the M10 or any other Leica M camera, you're gonna find that if you like buttons and customization, you won't get a lot of that. So I find it very cool that they decided to produce a camera that was very different from the other ones, but that had that pure photography experience. So if you are, my recommendation is, if you are into cool old school looking camera, you don't really care about video, although this camera shoots video 4K and all the bells and whistles with great autofocus. But if you are interested in bringing your photography into a more pure experience, I know it's a bit of a buzzword, but maybe it's a different mindset when I pick up this camera. Let me talk to you about my experience. When I pick up an X Pro, or even the XE, but more the X Pro with the hidden screen, I'm in a different mindset. I'm going out to shoot photography. I'm not going out to produce content or capture crazy good images and so on and so forth. Here is more documenting day-to-day life, focusing on photography. I don't want to film a YouTube video when I have this camera on, because I want to focus on capturing the frame. And in the OVF, you can actually frame it like a rangefinder. Again, it's not a rangefinder system, but it gives you the frame lines within the OVF. So again, it's a very, very different experience. I'm going to pause here to look at the comments and questions. One thing to keep in mind from NextDerm, one thing to keep in mind is that if you are left eye dominant, the OVF gets tricky. This is very true, because I'm a right eye dominant, so I can easily shoot like this. But if I were left eye dominant, yeah, it creates kind of the same problem as when you have a more DSLR type camera with the nose that it's crammed on your face due to the screen. So you are totally right. If you are left eye, the argument I just made is maybe not super valid. Okay, so that's the X Pro line, and I'm not recommending this one to anyone in particular, because it might not be the best way to get into the Fujifilm ecosystem. I think it's a camera that you grow into and that you want to try, and you have to try it if you can go to your local camera shop here in Montreal. I mean, I'm sure if you go to Camtech Photo, the friends at Camtech with John, the team, they will let you play with one of these, and you can find out for yourself. Stop listening to reviews and stuff. And I say that, and I'm doing reviews too on my channel, but I want to do less and less of that. But go try it for yourself. That's my feedback for you. That's the X Pro line series, and let's continue here. I was going to pre-order the X Pro 3, until I saw it for real. I did not like the screen at all, so I bought the XT3 and 4 instead. Exactly. So OC2 has the precise reason why you shouldn't buy a camera off of YouTube reviews and some Amazon reviews. You should go in store, you should shoot with it, and my recommendation is always to rent the actual damn thing. So you go there, you rent it, and you can find out for yourself. So this is the X Pro 3. Audio is okay, some slight crackling, bad connection somewhere. Yeah, it's a wireless connection, so maybe I won't use that in the next live. Now I'm all rigged up, so it would be hard to change, but thank you for the feedback. Now I know that it's not the ideal setup to have the Rode wireless Go and the Sony directly. So hey, it is what it is, like they say. So hopefully it's not too bad that you guys are not able to hear anything. But thanks for the feedback, Richard. Very appreciated. So we are continuing our little tour of some of the Fujifilm cameras, why you might want one model or the other. And I want to talk about a recent acquisition of mine, and it is the Fujifilm. Of course, it's a Fujifilm. It is a Fujifilm XS10, and this is a camera that's maybe oversight. There's people don't really consider this camera when they, are looking at Fujifilm cameras, and it's I think it's not justified because it depends on what you want to do. For me, I actually downgraded. I made a video talking about why I downgraded from XT4 and XT3 to one of these and this one, so XE4 and XS10. So if you are interested, they are in the playlist below or up. I don't know where this video is, so you can go on the channel. You'll find them. But this grip, if you are somebody who liked the XH1, I was a big fan of the XH1, and I usually like these cameras more for video. So if you are a videographer, if you are someone who wants to use Fujifilm cameras, yes, for the occasional photo, but video is your main focus, I would actually consider this one for a couple of reasons. The first one is that grip is pretty comfortable. Way more than, of course, cameras like the XE4 or the X Pro 3 with the small grip. Again, if you're doing video, you want to be stable, just, bare bone like that, it's already better than a lot of the other cameras. Of course, if you rig it up, and I did get some small rig stuff, so we're going to rig up this camera in a future video. So thumbs up if you want to see that. But you can rig it up and have the monitor and the arm and everything. So this is going to be cool. But already from the get-go, when you get this camera out of the box, again, it benefits from the same X-Trans4 sensors, just like the other current ones. Well, not this one. This is a separate one. But the XE4, the X100V, the X Pro 3, the XT4, XT3. You've got the sensor. It is stabilized, so it's a very nice 5-axis stabilization. It is also very capable of producing some nice video files. It's not as good as the XT4, but if you're doing YouTube videos like this one, like I'm doing here, small production type of videos, you might want to consider this one because it's cheaper, way cheaper than an XT4, and it has the same type of grip as the XH1, but it has the latest technology. You will lose some of the controls that you have on the, let's take the X Pro 3. You will lose some of those, dials that are ISO dials and so on and so forth in favor of a more traditional type of, DSLR setup with the PASM dial, like we like to call it. So P, aperture priority, shutter priority, and so on and so forth. So this is what you'll get with this one. But again, it has that articulating screen that some photographers don't like, but videographers, I mean, again, when you're doing a pan and you want to be able to see like this, you see the way I'm holding it, this is pretty much standard now to have that flip out screen. And if you're recording yourself, of course, it's pretty much a given that you want to be able to see your frame and not having to rig up a whole bunch of cables and screens to be able to see yourself. So highly recommend XS10 if you are into video. Of course, it takes great photos. It's the same damn sensors than the other cameras, the current ones. So like I said before, don't worry about the image quality of any of the current cameras. You'll get the same as the X-T4 and below. So XS10, very interesting camera to consider if you are doing photos and especially if you are doing videos. Okay, we are continuing into a bit of an homage to a camera that has now a bit of a cult, to be honest. And I'm not sure I understand why. Maybe it's because it was produced for a short amount of time. There's not tons of it. But if you are the lucky person like me, a lucky person to have an Fujifilm X70, this is my copy of the X70, I think you're in luck because this is a highly pocketable camera. It doesn't rock the latest sensor. I think it's an X-Trans 2 sensor. I think it's the same that was in the X-T2. But already back then, it had that little flip up screen. So I guess they inspired themselves from it for the XE4. But look at this. Look at the size. This is probably the smallest Fujifilm camera I own, and this is a camera you can just put in your pocket, and it's up. I'm pretty sure it's around the Ricoh GR type of size for that camera. So consider this. If you can find one, well, I'm saying that, and now I think the price have gone up, which is things that happen with cameras these days. If a camera becomes a little bit popular and people start talking about it a lot, sometimes the price go up. But hey, you can find one of these. Try it, because there's merits also to go back to an older sensor when everybody's using the same sensor and posting and their work and so on. Sometimes having a bit of a different sensor. One of my friends, Joe D'Agostino, who just did a live on Instagram earlier today, even bought an old Canon type of camera, and it had a CCD sensor in it, which is a completely different sensor technology. And this is an old technology, but it produces different files, so different type of rendering. And yeah, I would definitely consider this one, not for the technology, not for the fast autofocus or anything like that, just because, well, of the sheer size of it. It does take a bit of a different type of battery, so you'll have to live with even smaller batteries than the ones that you find in the X100V and so on and so forth. But really, really like this camera, really like the files that are coming out of it. And you get a wider lens. This is, let me see, what is the equivalent here? This is a 18.5. Sorry, no, that's the F. What do we have? Yeah, it's an 18. It's an 18 lens, so that brings you to like 20 something, 23. So you get an even wider field of view than the Fujifilm X100V that actually is a 35mm equivalent. So consider this one if you can find one on Facebook Marketplace or Amazon. No, not Amazon, but Kijiji here in Canada, or any listings. Highly recommend. Again, look at the size of it. And I wouldn't pay more than $400 for it, even $300 Canadian. So that means, I don't know, $3 US. But I would consider it if you can find a good deal on it. So we've talked about this. This is the other option. This is an X-T10, and this is also from an older generation. Doesn't have the latest film simulation and so on and so forth. This one's pretty beat up. We've used it a lot on travels. Doesn't have the same quality in the OVF or EVF, sorry, but it has all the same mojo that Fujifilm cameras have, and of course it takes the Fujifilm lenses. So if you want to get into the system, you want to test some of the lenses that Fujifilm has out there, consider getting an older one like this fixed lens X70 and this interchangeable one like an XT10 or 20 or even 30. I think they went down in price because there's a new version that came out. So we talked about a lot of cameras now. Let's go see in the comments section. I totally agree on trying a camera before you buy, but I just love the X Pro 2 form factor. Yeah, man, this X Pro 2, I'm totally with you. If I can find one on those platforms, selling platforms, I might actually buy it back. This is how great I find it. It is. Something else I really like is your relaxed and natural prison making style. Well, thank you so much, man. This is non-scripted. This is also just me trying to help as much as I can, because I know I've got a lot of help from people in this community. So anytime I can do something to help the community that we've built here, I'm trying to do it. And I failed a lot at photography and storytelling, so I have this to share, and so people won't repeat my errors, especially on the gear front, where I thought that gear was so important. Now I really talk about feeling and how you feel when you have a camera. I have a lot of cameras, but it's not because I want to have the best and latest and greatest, just because I love these things, and I'm starting to collect them, as you can see. And sometimes I like to go back to older types of cameras. But thank you so much for the feedback. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna give it a star. I don't know what it does. I'm in Ecamm, so just giving a star to your comment. So hopefully it does something on the YouTube side. We've got Ben, who says, out shooting in Montreal with my XT4 and X100V. This is a killer combo. I think this is probably one of the best setup right there, XT4 and X100V. Right now, solid content as usual, Fred. Cheers. Well, Ben, thank you so much for joining today. It's really cool that you are here, and that you are providing feedback. So giving you a star too. Again, don't know what it does, but we'll see afterwards. Montreal, a city I would love to visit. Yes, and you should come, OC2, because this is a city where you will get 4 seasons. So you will be able to shoot in the snow, in the rain, of course, and autumn colors. And also you get the summer vibes, really hot, and the festival, a lot of people in the streets. So hey, if you want to know when to come, hit me up in the comments or send me a DM or an email, and we can chat, because that's definitely a city I would recommend for anybody interested in street photography and also nature photography. I've got some videos on here that talks about just an hour from Montreal, or even 45 minutes from Montreal, you can be in total nature, but then come back to a bustling city. So really like Montreal, as you can see, but I also like all the cities that I haven't been able to go to lately. But hey, we're fixing that. We've got 2 trips planned, one in New York coming up in May, and also one in Italy, fingers crossed. Hopefully we can make it with the current situation, but it's going to be a headache to know what I'm going to bring. But I think I have a little idea about that. But yeah, Montreal, please come, and it's super cool that you guys are interested in shooting in my hometown. We've got Carlos Plagman. Hey, love the content. Can you compare the size of the XT10 and the XE4? Very good question, actually, Carlos. I'm glad that you asked, because I'm wondering myself. So let's put a lens on the XS10, or sorry, the XT10. Was it the XT10 you wanted to see? Yeah, the XT10. Let's put a lens, because I want to give it a fair shot, since I do have a lens on the XE4. So Carlos, you wanted to see the size difference. So here we've got, it's pretty much the same weight. I mean, it's not the same lens, so it won't really, I can weigh them after that, but they're pretty similar. Pretty similar. Look at that. So Carlos, I think you got a good flash there, because yeah, they're bang on, almost the same size. It would come down to the shooting experience. Like we said, this one has more of a rangefinder type of approach style. This one has more of a DSLR, you know, with again the nose. But to somebody's earlier point, if you're left eye dominant, then it doesn't matter. You're going to be stuck with the same type of problem with this one. But yeah, they're pretty much almost the same size, and I guess so then it becomes a question, do you want the XT30 for if you want the latest and greatest? Do you want the XT30, which replace the XT10 and the XT20, or you want the XE4? I went with the XE4 because, again, I really like the rangefinder type of cameras. Okay, so that's the XS10, XT10, sorry. And now, for the, let's put that back here. I don't like when the sensors are exposed. It's those are mirrorless cameras, so as you can see, the sensor is right there, so I like to protect them. And this one's not even mine, so I have to send it back in perfect condition. So All that being said, all the same sensors for the latest technology. You can have some great APS-C, other options from old school cameras like the X70 or the XT10 and so on, if you want a bit of a different look. But there's one camera that is changing the game on another level. And what this camera is, hey, Mike, good afternoon. Happy you're here. I've got my buddy Mike from Montreal also, so glad you're here. But so this is the medium format GFX 100S, and this is a bad boy. I mean, look at this. This is a very, very interesting camera because it does sport a large sensor. I mean, some people will debate, is it a medium format, is it a large sensor? I know it's not the same as with film. All that to say is that it's, I mean, let's compare the sensor on an APS-C camera like the X Pro 3, and let's put the large format right beside it, right? So you can see an enormous difference between APS-C, of course, and large format. And if I were to put a full frame, you would see that this one is actually bigger too. So what does the GFX bring to the market? Well, a couple of things. So the first iteration of the X100, it was humongous. I actually have a bit of a review on it. Let me show you an image of the original GFX 100, right? So let's go see this, and I'm gonna show you the screen right here. So this is how big the camera was. This is a humongous camera. It was a game changer because it was 100 megapixel back then. So of course, a lot of people were interested in hopping on that train. A lot of people bought this camera. Not sure if I would have bought it though, because it's too big. But back then, I mean, with the technology they had and with the available miniaturization of all the components and so on, that was the best they could do, and it was also stabilized. So it's a stabilized big sensor. So they needed space to do it. But now with this one, with the the GFX 100, you've got a, I don't want to say an XS10 type of body, but almost. I mean, this is way bigger. It's probably half a size bigger, or 1.5 or whatever. I'm not good with these type of things. But one thing is that the grip that you have on the XS10, you kind of find it back on the GFX 100. And this is changing the game because for once, you can have the qualities of a GFX medium format system. And when I say qualities, just go look up some shots on, I don't know, Flickr or websites. I mean, you can go see the depth, the rendering, the dynamic range, the actual way it renders. It's different. It's completely different than, of course, an APS-C sensor, but even from full frame, that large, extra large sensor brings really something unique. So if you, and that 100 megapixel, if you are into product photography, if you are into printing, you know, big billboards and so on and so forth, commercial advertising, that's a camera that actually will give you enough resolution you can crop for days. You can literally crop for days and still see a lot of details. This will require a fast card in it, or two fast cards. It does have dual card slot, but it will also require a fast computer. You know, if you have something that's on the Intel chip on the computer, on the Mac, or if you have an older PC, these files are humongous. It's more than, I think it's 200 megabytes per file, even more than that. So you will get a lot of processing power if you're in Lightroom or Capture One and so on and so forth. So, but man, is it worth it? Probably not for 99% of you guys, and myself included. But is it nice to be able to shoot 100 megapixel on a medium format sensor with these stupidly amazing lenses, like my preferred one. This is my preferred one, the 80mm, and this is a 1.7 lens, which on a medium format brings it to like f1 or whatever the equivalent is. So yes, it's worth it. It's worth it to at least try it. Fujifilm have those days, like they like to call it, where Fujifilm days, where you can go into a camera shop and try the cameras, even rent it for a couple days. I don't know if they run it still today, but I remember back then I was able to test a lot of these cameras before buying them without even paying anything. So look up for those Fujifilm days uh, in your local camera shop or even on the Fujifilm website. Sometimes they come, and hopefully they're still there. But if you have a chance to play with the GFX 100, I will probably do a review shortly. I did one couple months ago, but now I'm having the camera for the second time, and I really want to take the time to shoot with it, understand the differences between the APS-C, the full frame, and this, because it is a truly unique camera. Not only that, it sports the, how do you call it, the tilt sideways screen that the XT4 has. So you have that on a medium format camera. You've got your tilt up, you've got your tilt down, and you also have, like I said, this tilt sideways. So if you're shooting like portrait orientation, you can actually see better with this type of screen inclinaison. So really like this. Yeah, very expensive camera too. I think the body goes for 5K, and this is another 3K. So it's probably a 10, 12. It can go fast when you start investing in a GFX line of cameras. But it is out there. If you are, again, a working photographer and you have a lot of contracts that require that details, that really crisp and large files, if you're doing big prints. Although, I mean, I've printed some, with my X Pro 2 back then and 3 and this camera, printed some pretty big stuff. Again, it depends on what you are required to do. So let me take a pause here and look at the comments just to see if there's any other comments. Okay, let's go back here. OC2, I started taking photographs since I was 11 years old. Wow, I'll be 74 in 2 weeks, man. Happy birthday. This is great to have you here. And man, I could definitely learn from you. This is a lot of experience you've gathered there. So let's connect. Mike says, good afternoon. Yeah, so this 100 years ago, we shot sports on TLR, and today we do it with the 100 megapixel medium format. Yeah, we've came a long way in terms of what technology can do. Would I shoot an entire Olympic like it's going on right now? Maybe not, but it is quite fast for such a large sensor. Bought mine in 1967 when I was in the army in Germany. Use it mainly for black and white. Yeah. Hey, those are great cameras. Company that used to call Calumet, now called Wex. Here in the UK, hires cameras here. That's great. What do we have here? That's a great combo. I only shoot good old D300. Yeah, that's a very good camera too. The Nikon D300 with a 17 to 55 2.8 in black and white only. There's just those cameras that really connects with you. Yeah, man, Nikon. I was a big Nikon fan. I shot Nikon for so long. Again, it all started with this line of camera that got me into the rest. But Nikon, yeah, I'm actually interested in testing one of the newest ones. I haven't shot Nikon for 10 years, so so I'm more than happy to test one. If Nikon is watching this and want to send me one, I will test it for sure. Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps it up. We've been doing almost an hour. We're 50 minutes in, so time flies when you're having fun. I want to thank you so much for joining me today, for all the feedback that you guys are giving me. I really appreciate it. I want to also let you know that if you have questions about any of the Fujifilm gear or other types of gear, you can go on my channel. You see that I'm using a lot of other different equipment too, but Fujifilm is, 11 years of shooting on this system. So if you have any questions about it, please ask the questions down below. I will ask you one favor. If you are interested in photography, go look up my first zine here, silo number 5. I mean, somebody, I think Mike said black and white. I shot a whole, well, if you want to learn more about Montreal, actually, there's a building called Silo numéro 5, silo number 5, that I've been able to get access to. And I'm hiding here because my dog ate my first copy of my own zine. So this is what happens when you have a dog and you leave your stuff on the table. My first copy of the zine is chewed by my dog. So I still love you, Billy, but yeah, so I'm gonna hide it like that. But all that to say, this is my my zine, my first ever zine. I got access to a great location, silo number 5. It's abandoned since 20 years ago, but everything is still there. But it's in decay, and it's I had so much fun going in there. It was legal. For those who are asking, I was accompanied by a professional or somebody that had access and wanted for us to visit and to photograph. But the photos that came out of it, this was actually shot on Nikon, by the way. So this was shot on a Nikon D700. It's probably one of my other favorite cameras of all time. But yeah, if you are interested, there'll be links to my zine and also to my NFTs. For those who are into NFTs, I just launched my first ones yesterday. So hey, I like to try. I like to try stuff, and I like to preach, not to preach, but I like to be a practitioner, not to talk about stuff, not knowing what it's about. I like to try it. I like to fail fast, to fail forward, but to learn and then to share. That's what I'm into. So that's why I'm doing an hour-long video today. But yeah, I would be interested to know what you think about those photos in my zine. I will produce more zine, so let me know if you want a copy. There's a digital copy, and there's also a printed copy from Blurb that you can buy. I'm not making any money out of that. If you're wondering, this is just for the pure joy of photography and sharing and printing the work. There's something cool about seeing your work printed and other people being able to watch it, spend time with it, and not just scroll through endless, meaningless feeds like some of the platforms out there. So thank you so much for joining. I've been Fred Ranger. Be happy, enjoy life, stay safe, and see you soon for another live or another video. Cheers.